The comeback. My wife, Lucy Mennillo, and her journey from having a heart attack to completing a marathon. Nothing will stop this girl. You need to watch this. The comeback. Today we interview my beautiful wife, Lucy Mennillo. Thank you for joining us, Lucy.
Thank you for having me today, Tony.
Oh, I love how she's professional in front of a camera. So, for those of you that don't know, 2 years ago, on April the 7th, 2017, my world was rocked for about 3 hours when I didn't even realise if Lucy was alive or dead. All I got was a phone call saying your wife is experiencing chest pain and we've taken her to the Royal Adelaide Hospital. So, love, let's start right from the top. We just finished the New York Marathon in 2016. We raised $150,000 for overcoming MS for our cousin Anthony, who's got MS. And 24 of us ran it. We completed the New York Marathon. It was one of the greatest experiences of our lives. And then we continued our training, and you did the Clare Half Marathon the week before. And then tell us what happened.
Okay, so we did the Clare Half, which would have been the weekend prior to my heart attack, and that was great. It was an enjoyable run. I was running with David Bernardi, and we were just clowning around and having lots of fun. And I felt fine, and actually still did a good time. And we finished that, and no problems. And during that week, because we were going to do the Triple Crown back then, and so the next event after that, I think about a month later, was going to be nearly a month later, was the Greenbelt Half. And so we finished training for the Clare. So that week, I got back into my shorter runs during the week. And on the Friday, which was the 7th of April, I had a scheduled 10K run. And when I run, it's not like I'm breaking records. I'm not like this freaking sprinter or whatever. I run, I enjoy it. I put my music on, and, you know, I'm safety first, so I always have my phone with me because in case I fall over and whatever, because, you know, I'm like that. And so I went for my 10K run, and it was 6Ks in, and I had in my head, I'll go down to what we call Bonithan Park, which was a little bit further out and a bit more, probably a little bit isolated. Then I thought, I want to hurry up. If I finish the run around Uni Oval, then I could just, you know, dash back home because I had a busy day planned. Mm-hmm. And so lucky I had changed my mind, and I headed back to where the Uni Loop was, and I was running along, and I felt fine. I didn't feel like there was anything wrong, and it was a warmish morning, I think it was, but other than that, I felt fine. And as I was running down the river heading towards Adelaide Zoo, it's a bit more of an isolated area, and I just remember I just felt this felt like someone shot an arrow through my chest. It was just a massive boom straight through. I sort of stopped, and I thought, what was that? And I thought, okay. I thought maybe I've popped a rib or whatever. You know, I might have to go to the car. I was trying to crack my back. I thought, nothing's happening. So I was just sort of like pacing around, waiting for the pain to settle, and it wasn't settling. And then a couple of minutes later, the pain started to go down the inside of my right arm and went straight to the fingers. And as soon as that happened, I just went, I think I'm having a heart attack. I thought, okay. So in my head, I just went...
So was that the first thing you thought? Did you...
Yeah.
You didn't think anything else?
That or a stroke. I was having a stroke if this was going to seize up. So I thought, okay, all right, well, I'm not in a good position here. If I have to try and ring, you know, for an ambo, and they're going to come down, they're going to bring the bed down, I said, I'm going to be wasting too much time. So I thought, you know what? I'll walk back about 200 or 300 metres because I knew there was a group of workmen on the actual main road, Frome Road, and I'll just get help. So I walked all the way back, and I just had the pain, and I was getting used to the pain. And I stopped one of the guys there and told him what happened, and I had my phone on me, so I rang the ambos. They came straight away. And so I reckon all up, by the time it happened to me going into emergency, I reckon it would have been probably at the most 15 minutes. So it was I thought it was quite funny because I was on the ground when the ambos rocked up, and the girl checked my heart rate. She goes, yep, heart rate's normal. And in my head I just thought, oh my God, I'm going to embarrass myself here. And I said to her, look, maybe I did pop a rib, and the guy said, no, we've got to do an ECG first. So
because no point you weren't unconscious, were you?
No, I felt faint after I got to the guy, because I had to walk about 200 or 300 metres back. By the time I got there, I felt faintish, so I sort of sat on the ground and just spoke to the ambos. And so the guy said, no, we'll put the ECG on. When he did that, he just said to the girl, no, we've got to get her on the bed, we've got to take her to the hospital. When I heard that, I just went, and I'm like, oh, here we go. So anyway, I'm going, oh my God, I've got the Greenbelt half marathon coming up. This is going to stuff me up, blah, blah, blah. So this is what's going on in my head. And at no point did I wasn't scared or anything. And I didn't think to myself, oh, geez, if they're talking heart attack, I'm going to have to go under the knife, blah, blah, blah. Didn't think any of that. So I got in the thing. She gave me some aspirin and just literally went down the road. Zip, went in, and there was just like 15 people just in the emergency, just waiting for me to come in. So I was quite awake and whatever. And I went in, and they just started asking questions. What's your pain level, whatever? And I'm just like, I don't know. I said about 5, 6, 7. It feels the same as when it happened. And so they said, we'll do an angio and find out what's going on. But I reckon after, when they told me what I had, they already knew what they were going to find, because they probably took one look at me and went, fit, healthy, heart, something. They knew it was what the deal was. So they did the angio through my arm, which was fantastic. So it wasn't as invasive as doing it through the main artery of your leg. And he checked the heart, and he goes, look here. He goes, here's your heart. Perfect. I'm like, okay. He goes, see these, your arteries? Yeah, not blocked. He goes, they're good. And I'm like, and I just looked at him and said, well, what the hell's going on here? And he said, but see this little bit here? It was just the bottom little bit of the heart. There was this little vessel. And he said, your artery burst. And I said, and I just went, what? And he goes, it's called spontaneous coronary artery dissection, or short version is SCAD. He goes, it happens to predominantly females, about an 80-90% ratio, and healthy. Usually
80-90%?
Females.
Wow.
It's only a small ratio of men. And usually they're healthy. He said, we had a woman a month earlier, same situation, came in with this, having
similar
this episode.
Age?
So, yes. No, she might have been a bit younger. And I'm like, okay, well, what do I do? He said, it's too small to actually to put a stent in. He goes, it has to heal on its own. So I have to stay in for a couple of days, put on medication, etc., etc. Now, for something like SCAD, they don't know. They know that they don't know what happens, but they can only treat you with the current heart medications that they give a standard heart attack. So that's not a problem. So I did that, and they had to put me to recovery. And meanwhile, so I didn't know. I'd given my phone to one of the nurses that happened to be a client of mine, and I said to her, you better ring Tony. And so she contacted you, obviously, and told you what happened.
Man.
And so after that, I figured they've organised you, and you'll be in the cardiology department and just waiting for me to rock up. So I wasn't concerned, and I wasn't concerned with what was going on with me. I felt fine. I felt like I was in safe hands. And after watching the emergency area, the way they were operating, I was just like, yeah, no worries here. I'm quite fine. So and then I was in emergency in the recovery, and that's when I started Googling about this SCAD, and, has anyone, gone back to running marathons and do, back to running, exercising. And I found this man, it happened to a guy, and he got back into training and all that sort of stuff. So I went, okay, awesome, no worries. Then I thought, maybe I better just text Tony and just let him know I'm still here sitting in recovery. And that was when I sent you the text going, I'm alive.
Yeah, because for 3 hours, from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., you know, like I got a call and they said, look, she's fine, she's conscious, just make your way to the hospital, everything will be fine. Now, the first thing that popped in my head is, oh, my wife's just had a heart attack. So you reckon I'm going to be calm? I got in that car and I bolted it there. I don't know how many speeding fines I got. So I got there, ran in, and then I said, oh, you know, where's Lucy Mennillo? They said, oh, look, Jack, come over here, have a seat, and we'll, you know, she'll be out in a minute. Well, 3 hours later, and everybody that walked past, I kept asking, you know, can I speak? I need to see Lucy Mennillo. Is she alive? What's going on? No one could tell me anything until you text me with, I'm alive. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And I put, where are you? And then you'd said to me,
I was in recovery, still waiting.
And like we had to wait a bit longer. Yeah. And then you send me this text saying that you'd just been researching this guy that had the same condition you just had done a marathon. I'm thinking, are you kidding me? Like most people would have just said, that's it, it's all over, da-da-da-da. But instead, in recovery, you are searching someone that's done it. And the reason for that is, why? Because the doctor said to you...
No, well, because, you know, when they finally got me into a room, we had one of the initial doctors, the assistant that came in to see us, remember? And we questioned him about trainings at the other. And he had said, oh, look, you know, you'll do rehab and then slowly you can get back into it and we'll keep, you know, we've got to keep your heart rate at 150, blah, 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 all that sort of stuff. So in my head, I sort of thought, oh, well, there you go, no worries. Recover, you know, let the scar, you know, heal itself because there was nothing they could do for it. So it's like getting a cut and it needs to repair itself. So you can't do anything. That's why they had to put me on 2 different types of medications. But my blood pressure, I've already got low blood pressure. So they had to be careful what the amount was for me to take. But they needed to slow that blood down so the split could actually heal over and, you know, do what it has to do. So I felt fine, and it was just, I stayed in hospital a couple of days. Now the next day, I had who was going to become my cardiologist, and I don't know if he had a rough weekend, you know, a rough couple of days there with patients or whatever. But he walked in, he said hello to me, you know, polite, whatever. Yep, no worries. And then he goes, well, looks like your running days are over. And by this stage, I'm lying on the bed and my headrest was broken. So I literally had to sort of sit up. And all I remember and my head was throbbing. I had really horrendous migraine and I hadn't been able to be given any medication to try and get rid of it. And the tablets weren't working. And they do work on migraines. And I just remember that I just came up and I'm just like, I don't think so. And that was in. It was on like Donkey Kong.
When you said that.
Yeah, because then...
That's not ripping your arm off.
I just couldn't believe it. And...
That was more of a shock to you than them saying you had a heart attack.
Yeah, that one I took in my stride. And then, okay, yeah, no, I was all right, we can deal with this. But and then we just started having the dumbest conversation and nothing related to what the actual thing was that I had happened. That was the bottom line. That was like a pointless conversation. He made some smart-ass remarks, made other smart-ass remarks that I could hear outside the door. And in my head, I had already made that decision that I was going to get in contact with our awesome GP and I'm going to need to find somebody. But I thought, you know what, I need to survive in here, so I'll just keep my mouth shut and take the tablets. And but when he said that, I don't know, without even me thinking about it, without even me thinking to myself, I'm going to prove you wrong. To me, it was just like he made the comment, but I just completely disregarded. And even his you know, trying to get around it and you know, coming up with other scenarios or whatever, it just meant nothing to me because I'd already made my decision what was going to happen.
And let's just make it clear here, we're not advocating that you go against any recommendations from your GP or surgeon or doctor or whatever like that. Lucy, you made sure you did your research afterwards. It's like getting a second opinion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like saying, all right, well, look, I'm not happy with that opinion. I'm going to get a second opinion. No. But if the second opinion was, look, you best not run.
Look, they are right. Something is wrong. Not right. This is going to be dangerous. Well, then I'd have to accept that scenario. But because I didn't get the confidence out of him, I wasn't going to put my life in his hands. So that's when I had texted my GP and said, you need to find me somebody else. And he sent me someone that he knew really well. And so I thought, you know what, I'll go to him, find out what's going on. He took me off one of the medications that I should never have been put on in the first place. And I had been given the information about doing rehab work. When I'd spoken to them, I shook my head. And that was when I began my slow process of rehabbing myself. I had the treadmill at home, and at that stage I had a gym membership for those 24-hour gyms, and so I would just, I had my heart rate monitor on.
Can you believe it? We own our own Better Than Ever personal training studio, and she goes and joins another gym.
No, but that was when we were at the other office, and
space.
Yeah, and I couldn't just budge on clients. Yeah. So I used to just go to the 24 hours and just go in, do my own thing and walk out. And but I had in my head, all right, so I got to start things off slowly. So I was walking on the treadmill at home at speed 4. So I was literally just going like this, and I thought, nah, and I was always checking the heart rate, and you know, and just gradually, bit by bit, that walk speed got a little bit faster. I'd go on the cross trainer but not move the arms because I knew not to pull to do weights, so I don't reburst the artery while it's still doing its healing. So I had to make sure that. So I knew in my head what I had to do, but I knew I needed to get movement in. But I've always being careful with what I was doing. So I didn't rush back in and run outside and, you know.
Oh no, you took your time.
I took my time, and, you know, I go get my checks done, the cardiologist. I went to my new cardiologist, and, you know, he understood that I was running. He even went as far as checking my Garmin app on my phone, because I'd be saying to him, look, here are my heart rates. So what do you reckon? Is it okay? Am I all right? And he just laughed. He just said to me, Lucy, you see this red bit? If your heart rate is up here after you've finished and it doesn't go down, he goes, go to the hospital. And I said, you know what? Gotcha.
Because that was the dilemma. When you did the New York Marathon, your average heart rate was 175 beats a minute for the entire event.
It's 179.
179 even, which is way above what your maximum heart rate is for your age. Yeah. So it's like getting in your car, leaving it in first gear and driving along the freeway without changing gears and the engines are screaming.
But they're not even looking at any of that. Because he said to me, because when I went into him, because I wanted to run the Melbourne Marathon last year, and I showed him the Garmin stuff, he said to me, he goes, you're equaling the event, the SCAD episode because you were running when it happened, but it could have just been, it might not have happened when you were running. It could have just been, that was the day, and I could have just been walking to the shop, sort of thing. He goes, don't put them two together. He goes, be smart when you're running. He goes, when you don't feel well, if you see something that's out of the ordinary, he goes, you stop and you seek help. And I think he was confident in the fact that I was quite...
well, you were determined.
But I was checking what I wasn't being stupid and just going, hey, I'm just going to go and run. See ya.
You did the Melbourne Marathon and you ended up doing it with your friend Lisa who lives in Melbourne.
So she was doing her training there. I was training myself here. And
so there goes back to our buddy system again.
Yep. And then we all went over. Now, because Melbourne decided to have one of those unusually unseasonal hot days. The week before was cold, the week after was freezing. On that particular day, it was gale force winds and it was hot. I had in my head leading up to the Melbourne one about taking gels and all that sort of stuff. And I had a few injuries, so I had to go and see the chiropractor and whatnot. And so in my head, I had my plan. And when we were out then, I thought, gee, this is hot. And I was a little bit concerned with myself, thinking, oh, how's this going to affect me? Or even affect me after. I was a little bit wondering about that as well. So that day, I reckon I drank close to 3 litres on that run. And I didn't get a stitch and I didn't get a cramp. Because I had all my gels, had all my electrolytes in me, but I had the water in me. And... you know, and I did everything right. And I did everything right because I was scared if I did something wrong that something would happen to me. So technically, hindsight, I knew, right?
And you had a plan.
And I had planned it. So I'm a planner, which I didn't think I am because I'm pretty, all over the shop. But I'm quite good with planning.
And you're focused.
So I was focused on it. So we got through it, and that was my first marathon from having the SCAD episode.
So Lucy, what's the next better than ever goal for you?
Well, so now at the moment I'm involved in this as part of a study for the people, if they know, the Victor Chan Institute in Sydney. Victor Chan was the first cardiologist in the world that did the first heart transplant, which was massive back, I think it was in the 80s when that happened.
Yeah, I remember
Unfortunately, he was killed in a home invasion, but they created the Victor Chan Institute. And so the Institute does a lot of studies, obviously to do with heart issues, but they actually do a lot of other different studies as well, not just about heart, but I think I saw one that had just by coincidence came up about babies and sleep and all sorts of stuff. So they've branched out to a lot of things. But a month after I'd had the SCAD episode, I was at home and on the news, a woman from WA had the same SCAD issue that I had, except hers was worse because I think it happened in her aorta, and she was lucky that she actually survived. And so she had we don't know what really happens, just take the medication and see you later. So she got in contact with the Victor Chan Institute saying, well, you deal with the heart, can we figure out how this works? So they put out to people across Australia, if anyone's had a SCAD episode, if they wanted to be part of the trial to discover if there's any genetic predisposition for it or what the deal is. So I quickly emailed them, and the next day a lady from Victor Chan Institute contacted me, and I said, yep, send me out the stuff and I'll do all the swabs and whatever. No worries, easy done. And they went through family history and all that sort of stuff.
How many people were in that study?
So they needed, it's continually growing, but they need, I think, at least 150 or something.
And how many participate so far?
I reckon they're over the 150.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I reckon now they are.
That's a worldwide, Australia-wide?
Well, what happened was Victor Chan's come up to Institute to do this, but they're also doing it with the Mayo Clinic in America and some other clinic in Europe. So they're all getting all their, and obviously they've got to go through all the DNA tests and whatnot. So one day, so every so often I'll send an email to find out what's going on, if they've heard anything, because God knows how long it's going to take before they can. And remember, this is all funding as well, so they've got to split funding up.
Yeah, and it's a long-term study.
It's a long-term study. But they're starting to break it down in bits and pieces to try and work it out. But I emailed, and I think one of the professors got back to me in that, and we were talking, and we were emailing each other, and I said to him that I'm running the Adelaide marathon this time, and I said I've been running, and he goes, I don't have a problem. He goes, running is fantastic. There's no issues with running. He goes, just be careful with weight training. So in other words, push-pull, don't do heavy weights or whatever. That's what they're more concerned about.
Yeah, so a steady increase of your heart rate is fine. It's that big jump and drop.
And really, at the end of the day, a lot of people don't breathe properly when they weight train. So I've seen people with faces red, because they're not breathing when they should be breathing and stuff like that. So you just got to use common sense. And I don't do heavy weights anymore. I do more of the, more functional, and because we're running, of that type of exercising anyhow. So that's fine. But I was a bit excited when he said about I got no worries with running. And then I'd read another article about the running anyhow, where they said people who've had SCAD, and they specifically spoke about SCAD, not just heart, that running, getting back into their running was the best thing. And I just went, you know what, I'm having all these tics, so you know what, I'm not going to be silly about things, and I am getting older, so I'm not going to be stupid, and I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. So I'm listening to the people, but I'm good at trying to find information and whoever I can talk to and whatnot. So I'm not being silly going against somebody and going, see you later. I'm looking at things properly.
And you're motivating other people as well.
And I'm motivating other people.
With Vanessa, you're motivating a lot of our Better Than Ever family members, and it's just fantastic. So what do you say to people that have had a similar condition to you, or have experienced a heart attack, or know someone that's had a heart attack, or
Okay.
what's the best advice?
I don't know what your personality is like, but I know what my personality is like. So I would say to people, number one, whoever inspires you, that's a bonus. But two, you need to do your research. You need to get many opinions, if you need many opinions, before making final decisions about what you want to do for training and whatnot. You need to be conscious and you need to take care of yourself if you want to do something. If you're on medications, you persist with your medications because they're there for a reason. It's not fun to take medications, but I'm also not stupid about it. But I say to people, I'm not normal. I'm a little bit different.
She's not normal.
So I know what it is that I'm doing, but whoever, if I can inspire you, that's phenomenal, and I don't have a problem with that, and I love that. And if you need to know more or need someone to inspire you, I'm happy to talk to you and see what you're doing. But you need to know what your condition is and what's going to affect it or not affect it, and don't be silly about it. Okay?
Good advice.
Because your loved ones don't want you to hurt yourself. But
and there's no point pushing yourself so hard that you actually
you cause
a major
issue.
Yeah.
Okay. Now with hearts and that, you don't know. It's like with aneurysms. You don't know who's got them. You don't know if you've got one. You don't know what's going to happen. Okay. I always say to people, the healthier you are, the better chance you have of surviving something or recovering from something. Now, they said when I had mine, I was already physically fit, so it was quicker for me to get through what I had and to get on with it. So, it's you put things into perspective, and yes, it is all well and good to hear these awesome stories of people doing things, going against the odds and whatever, but I tell you, you need to be very smart about what you're doing. You need to seek your proper advice before you do anything, and then pursue whatever it is you want to pursue. Okay?
And obviously have the right support by the right people.
You've got to have the right support. You've got to find the people that are going to inspire you and help you with your goal. You'll always get the naysayers, and you'll always get the people that they would be too scared. They would be in the same situation as you and run and hide, and that's their life. So you'll do a bit of a dust and clean with any illness that you have in life. You'll have a dust and clean, and you'll keep the right people with you that's going to get you. You've got to have your circle of your health professionals that you trust, and your loved ones and your friends that can help you achieve whatever goal you want to achieve. I hope I'm inspiring somebody, and it could be somebody that I wouldn't even know, that could be across the other side of the world, but I've got to do the right thing, and I've got to say the right thing because I need people to be able to do things properly.
Well, I just see, after you just did the Adelaide Marathon and after Vanessa just did the half marathon, how many of our better than ever family members, especially the female ones, have come along board and said, well, gee, if Lucy can do this at 51 years old and complete a marathon, then why can't I do it?
That's right. And when you embark on that...
Well done.
Thank you, my dear.
Well done.
But I just say to people, you need to be smart about how you do things.
So there you go. It's possible.
Very possible.
The comeback is possible.
Very possible.
As we say, results start here.
Woohoo!
Lucy's an example of that.
Yep.
And everybody deserves to be better than you. See you next week.
Bye.